we'll stop moving on to
Okay, hi Sister Wendy.
Hi. Well, my vocation story is kind of linked to my conversion story. So although I was baptized as a Catholic, I had this journey that I made up and down, and eventually when I was at university, I found the Catholic Church quite a bore. So I joined some evangelical churches. And I came to one which was the Assembly of God, which I found that I could really worship well. And what really moved me was the testimonies that were given by the members. So after, during the service, they would share how Jesus was alive in their lives that week. So what attracted me to this particular evangelical church was the testimony given by the students. During the service, they would share about how Jesus was alive in their lives that week. And as I remember, as the student shared, I was saying to myself, Jesus seems so alive in her life. So whatever relationship that she had with him, I wanted that too. That so I stayed on with this church, and after a while, after a few months, after the service, they would come together for coffee and tea, chit chat. It's like a fellowship. And that's when they discovered I was Catholic. And one of the members started condemning the Catholic Church, saying, "Oh, you should leave the church," and all that. So I was thinking to myself, but hang on a while, should be more respectful to other churches. Here I am being open-minded. You should at least respect. So because of that incident, I was a bit disillusioned because I didn't want to end up like her, being so narrow. So I stopped going to that church altogether. And at that time, this was in the late 80s, and it was the peak of the Ethiopian crisis and the start of the very first World Bank. So I would see these skeletal people from Africa and Ethiopia, with their big bloated stomachs, children who were dying. And that was when I questioned, does God really exist? Because I said, if Christians claim that there is a loving God, then why does he allow so much suffering? So that became like a turning point, and I sort of strayed away from the church. First of all, I was disillusioned, then I saw all this happening. And I became close to becoming an atheist. I was like, does God really exist? So in this period of time, I hardly went to church and all that. But eventually, to cut a long story short, I slowly got back to the church through a book. It's a book by C.S. Lewis called Mere Christianity. And the many questions and doubts that I had were answered in that book. But being an Anglican, C.S. Lewis, I wasn't too sure whether the Catholic or the Protestant path was the right one. Although I was convinced that God does exist, Jesus Christ is the Son of God, etc. Anyway, eventually I came back to Singapore, and because of my Protestant ideas, I was quite anti-Marian. And although I was brought up in a Catholic family, my mom has statues of Mary and all that, and I would tell her, just throw away all these statues. You don't need to pray to God through Mary. You can pray directly to Him. So there was this period of time, and then somebody told me about Medjugorje, that Our Lady is appearing, and this call for conversion and all that, which I, of course, was very skeptical because I was very anti-Marian then. But somehow, someway, and I really believe in the power of prayers and intercessory prayers, that people are praying for conversion of sinners. So one Sunday afternoon, I found myself going for this talk about Missionary, and eventually I actually made a trip to Missionary. And I think the turning point was when I came across a book by Wayne Webber, who was a Protestant, a Lutheran minister, who was actually promoting Missionary. And in Medjugorje, I was sort of born again back into the Catholic Church, So I started appreciating the Mass, going for daily Mass, and I made my first confession 7 years, And eventually I got into a program of the New Evangelization School, NET. And that was one of the best decisions I did because it helped me to taste the sweetness of serving the Lord. You think you're giving up a lot of time and effort, but actually it's such a joy to serve. After which I was by then working in broadcasting, and I wanted to use my broadcasting skills to evangelize, and I wanted to maybe join Lumen 2000, which was the lay group. But eventually, somehow or other, I found this congregation known as the Daughters of St. Paul, and I had no inclination to become a sister at all.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, that's right. So, but somehow or other, something led to another, and I was like given hints about the Daughters of St. Paul. So I went for this vocation weekend, and at first there was no congregation here in Singapore at that time. But somehow or other, there was one daughter of St. Paul attending it because she had come back from Italy, and it just coincided, with this program. And so, what attracted me basically was the apostolate, the mission, which is to use the media to evangelize. As you can see from my story, I was very much brought back to God through the media, right? So I find that it's a very powerful tool which should be utilized, to bring people closer to God. And I made a trip to the Philippines because there was no community here. First to Malaysia and then Philippines. And I remember even as I was leaving, the aspirants there were saying, "Oh, we'll pray for you, that you'll join us." But I said, no, don't pray for me, just pray that I'll do God's will. If it's really His will that I enter, then, So after that trip, I actually made a week of a silent retreat to really discern. And I remember praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament, saying to Jesus, if it's really your will that I become a sister, then let me have that desire to. Because I don't want to just enter thinking that it's God's will, but I don't have that desire. And gradually it came. It didn't come just like instantaneous, but it came over the days of the retreat. And so I entered, and it's been quite an adventure since then. It's very exciting. I've been to quite a few places, but I think what's rooted me through the ups and downs is the spirituality, very much centered on the Eucharist and the Word of God, and so that sort of keeps me rooted.
So your formation was in Singapore, or?
No, because when I entered, the sisters were not even in Singapore yet. So I spent 7 years, my initial formation, in Philippines. Did my aspirancy in the Missionary, did my theological studies there, and then eventually came back for a couple of years, and then I went off to Rome for my preparation for final vows.
So you did your final vows in Rome?
The preparation was there, but I did my final vows here in Singapore.
And after that, were you posted to other countries?
Yes, I was. In 2005, I went to the US for a short while just to do some updating. Then eventually in 2008, I was assigned in Kenya for 5 years.
So, talk about your experience there. What work you did there?
Well, because I was very much into audiovisual, and there was a growing audiovisual sector there, so I was very much involved in that. We produced CDs and videos, DVDs, and over there it's like what they call, it's like a new frontier. You can do anything you want. Unlike here, where you've got the censorship board to worry about, other religions and all that. Down there you could do anything, So there were no limits basically. And there were some talented people, so we worked together with some collaborators as well, and we produced quite a few things. And I also helped out in the novitiate to give some classes to the novices. So it was a very good experience. Of course, it's a totally different lifestyle and culture. I experienced the drought period where there was hardly any water, so we had to ration our water. We had half a bucket of water a day. Cannot flush your toilet except once a day, but I managed. It's pretty amazing, because over here we take everything for granted. The switch, the tap, you just turn on the faucet and the water flows. You just switch on the light and the light comes on. But over there, everything from water to electricity, it's not so conveniently available all the time. So that, I think what, and also the people, we eat too much here, but over there, the ordinary people only have one main meal a day, you know. The other meals will be very light, and they're very slim and they're very healthy. Yeah. So things like that, lah. But overall, wherever we are, the Daughters of St. Paul, our mission is the same, which is to use the media to evangelize, to bring people closer to God. And so that's why I think it's no matter where we are put, because of the spirituality that roots us and the work, and of course the community life. So it's like we become, or we, like Paul was always concentrating on this universalism, being open to everybody and all that. So I guess we also have to have that universal heart as well.
So after traveling to different countries, how is community life the same in
It's very different. In some sense it's the same, but in some sense it's very different. Because you have people of different cultures, right? But because the Daughters of St. Paul is international, we also try to have communities with different nationalities. And of course, the greater the number of nationalities, it's more enriching. But of course, at the same time, it's also more challenging, But having said that, even if you put a bunch of Singaporean sisters together, it also can be very challenging because of the different backgrounds that we come from. So community life can be a joy, but it can also be a challenge. But I think the important thing is that when we look at the perspective of it being a challenge to help you to grow in love, then it takes on a different level.
How will you feel after coming from a secular world, working in broadcasting, to a community?
Okay, well, it wasn't easy because I was already an adult. I was working, I was having my own car and all that, and then when you enter the religious life, you're like a baby again, because when you're in the formation, you have to get permission for everything, and then at that time also, our formation as a postulant and as a novice, you had like fixed time to sleep, lights out, fixed time to get up, things like that. So that adjustment took a while, but I think what helped me a bit was I was in a boarding school before, so I had a bit of that discipline already. But in a way it was also enjoyable because you're with a bunch of sisters who are also having that same vision to serve the Lord, So because like our founder said, if we are alone, like a string, you can't do much. But if you're together, entangled ropes, it's much stronger, right? So in that sense, community life gives you that strength. But otherwise, if you're working alone, you may not get that strength.
Then what about living-wise? How living in a secular family versus a religious family?
Okay, well, being an apostolic community like ours, we are not really cut off from our family. Like say the cloistered, like the Carmelite sisters, right? We hardly see their family. But we get like days off and we get vacation days. So we are also able to return to our family and stay with them for a period of time during vacation. But of course, it's different in that sense that here, the family's not really fixed, the community's not really fixed, because every now and then you'll have one sister leave and one sister come in, and I myself have left, So it's like flowing. Whereas of course your own family, it's your bonded by blood and then each other. So one thing I always tell people is that about the 100-fold, because when I was growing up, I have only one brother. So I've always wanted and yearned for a younger sister and older sister. But then when I entered the convent, I've got 2,000 sisters all over the world, So that's like part of the 100-fold, It's like the Lord answered my prayers and even beyond. And I think that's my experience. Once you say yes to Him and surrender everything, He really gives you your heart's desires and even beyond, It's like, and I think ultimately He wants us to be happy. So whatever vocation it is, if you're married, if you're single, if you're entering the religious life or being a lay consecrated, He wants you to be happy wherever you are.
feel that being in a community that you have no choice, or
Well, there's no choice in the sense that you don't really choose who you're staying with.
where you're posted?
Well, where you're posted to, maybe nowadays, there's always an opportunity to dialogue. Say if the general superior calls me up tomorrow and tells me, okay, Sister Wendy, you're assigned in Pakistan. Then I'll say, okay, give me some time to think about it, to pray about it. If I really don't feel inclined, I can always say no. But of course, in faith, you usually say yes, because it's like, maybe it's an opportunity for you to. I'm the type of person who I would say that I'm like a citizen of the world, because I'm really open to being assigned anywhere. Having experienced Africa and Philippines, I'm always excited to serve people of different cultures and backgrounds.
So do you acquire this while you were in the sisterhood, or?
No, I think what helped is even when I was growing up, my mother and my dad had very good friendships with people of other races and other religions. So like during Deepavali, we would get invited to our Indian friends' home, Hindu friends' home, and then during Hari Raya also, we get to visit their homes. So that gave me that sense of openness, I guess, already. Then in boarding school again, I already had schoolmates from Africa, from Europe, from different parts of the world. Yeah, so maybe my background helps me to also be that kind of missionary, having the openness.
Does the work that you do now require you to move into different places?
Not really. In Singapore, we try to serve the diocese in Singapore. And now, of course, as you know, our main priority is to get a new convent. Yeah. But eventually, if after my term here, if there's a need for to serve elsewhere outside.
Similar because of the spirituality.
Yeah, I think every daughter of St. Paul would feel at home no matter which part of the world she's in, because we share that same vision, we share that same mission. The expression may be slightly different, perhaps, like for example, here in Singapore we are wearing the habit, full habit. In certain countries, like if you go to the UK or Australia or Latin America, they've already done away with the veil. So it really depends on the country, but that's just the externalities. The interior part, the mission is the same wherever we are. And the spirituality is always there.
Yeah, prayer book is the same.
Prayer book's the same, of course, in different languages, if it's different. Yeah, but yeah, it's basically the same spirituality. And also being Catholics, wherever we go, the mass is always the same, whether it's a different language. So that also.